And so because I have my body, I can choose to do what I want so long as I don't hurt anybody else in the process. And that, that is just a function of owning my body.
Free Talk Live.
Where Luca is on the line from Orlando. Go ahead.
What's up, boys?
Hey.
Sorry if my internet in and out. I don't know why it's being bad, but
That's all right. We got you. Go ahead.
I just wanted to talk. Okay, great. I just want to talk about natural rights. I feel a lot of libertarians believe that they're born with natural rights, and I wanted to. Well, let me start off by saying I'm constantly learning as a libertarian, new ideas and different philosophies. But I'm at the point right now where I'm learning about natural rights, and I believe that there is no such thing as natural rights. What do you guys think?
Well, can we define natural rights, or can you define natural rights?
Well, to me, I think people think that they're rights, like you're given rights. And I mean, I want to know who's giving you those rights, number one. Mm-hmm. I mean, some people would argue God would, God or some higher being above. But at all that aside, who's giving you rights right now? Like,
yeah. All right. So you are dropping out on some packets here, but I think we've got the gist of the question is, mm-hmm. if there are natural rights, where do they come from, basically?
Yeah.
Is kind of the idea. Yeah. And you're saying you don't buy that these things exist because how could they have been given to you? Is that basically what you're saying?
Yes. Yes. Mm-hmm.
Mark, what do you think about that?
I tend to like the notion of natural rights, but I don't tend to. It's not the same as a lot of people that report natural rights. All right. So I believe in a creator. And I believe that creator, believed in something called rights. I believe rights spring from self-ownership. That I own my car. I therefore have the right to drive my car. I can do the things with my car so long as I don't harm anybody else with it that I want to do. And that's the same is true with my body. And so because I have my body, I can choose to do what I want so long as I don't hurt anybody else in the process. And that, that is just a function of owning my body. So, yes, I do believe in natural rights.
I think you're basically saying you're willing to defend your rights end where your defenses will let it be. Like, you're willing to defend your life. You're willing to defend your car. I mean, up to a point, I assume. But your rights go up to how far you can defend it. Like my property rights. Who's to say someone can't come to my property and take something? It's only a mutual understanding that these lines belong to me.
Mm-hmm. So, right. Otherwise, you're the one who has to defend your property if that other person doesn't understand and agree with the idea of property.
Sure, and
exactly.
that comes down to the fundamental question of what is ownership and what is property. And humans have disagreed on this, animals disagree on this, but ultimately we do sort of agree that there is territory. Right? Like, when you're not on your property, when you are on your property, and that this has been true for many, many thousands of years, that it's taken this long to simply come to the point that we can define property. And lots of people have died over different definitions of property up to this point, too. So I believe that property is sort of written into our DNA, but we are still determining what that means as a species.
Mm-hmm. Well, I know there's a lot of people who believe that they need government to protect their rights, and I'm not against that completely. I just think there shouldn't be any coercion. I don't even know how you pronounce that
coercion.
Right now.
Yeah.
Yes, to defend that. You don't need that. Let's say, for example, if we had a private insurance company defending your rights, let's just say, if they weren't doing a good job, you can get rid of them. If you're all supporting this insurance company that's protecting your your so-called rights, if they do a poor job, you can fire them. Unlike government that we have now, like that's why I feel like people have this misconception of like we can't live without government. I'm not saying there's not going to be any mutual agreements because we just already agreed that
Natural rights are a mutual agreement, or rights of any sort are a mutual agreement between people. I mean, I've got an article up here from CRF-USA talking about John Locke, who wrote in his second treatise of government that all individuals are equal in the sense that they are born with certain inalienable natural rights, and he believed were God-given and can never be taken or ever given away. And then he lists a few of those rights, including life, liberty, and property. But that's just an idea, right? That's just what one man said, and he said this, and a lot of people agree, and it's a good idea. I mean, there are reasons why we have these ideas, because they help people. They help us get along with one another. They help us have a more productive society. The idea of property has been beneficial to mankind over time, and respecting the idea of property and respecting the idea of a right to life and to property and to liberty has helped humans. And to the extent that those ideas are disrespected, it harms humans. And so if we can come to a society in which people believe fully in these ideas of rights, not any kind of negating of it, like you're saying, Alaloka, that if the government, for instance, wasn't coercive, which we've never seen that in our lifetimes, but if the state somehow was like magically not to be a coercive entity, I would all of a sudden have no real objection to pretty much anything they did, because like you said, we would be able to opt out of it. But in order for that to happen, we would have to change the paradigm of what people believe is acceptable as far as treating their neighbors is concerned. Is it acceptable to threaten with the violence of the government? As you were pointing out earlier tonight, Mark, the government is essentially a big gun that people fight over one another to try to get control of. Until people can let go of the desire to control their neighbor, then we're always going to have rights being violated. It's just going to be part and parcel of life until people can get over the desire to have somebody else live the way they want them to, I think.
I concur.
No, that was my point, and I'm glad that you got to that end point. That's what I wanted to get with this conversation, was for people to realize that we don't need the point of a gun to
Yeah, I agree with you. I'm going to let you go, Alaloka. You were good for a little while there, but it started cutting out there toward the end. Maybe check your Discord voice activation settings when you get a chance. Thank you for the call tonight.
All right.
Otherwise, it was mostly good.
Free Talk Live. Listen live 7 to 10 p.m. Eastern, or grab the podcast. It's all at freetalklive.com.